What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Cass here, and we are here for really episode 1 of this creator insight thing that we're going to do on the channel now. And we had to pull out a big name for our first episode, and we've got Shannon Silveria from SWW, guys. So, love the fact that we were able to get Shannon. I've been a massive fan of your stuff for years now, so I really appreciate that I was able to reach out, get you on here, and I know the UKW faithful are massive into your stuff. You have been a massive inspiration for us, so love the fact that I was able to get you on some stuff. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate the invite, man. It's always nice to come out and be able to do, some other stuff from time to time.
So, we're gonna deep dive into some of your inspirations in, like, how you got into wrestling, some of your inspirations in doing content, and how you got in this crazy world of cost stuff. So, because it is a crazy scape.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, like, with getting into wrestling, like, wrestling's already a niche in itself.
Yep.
So, if you were to explain to somebody how you got into professional wrestling as a fan, what would be your story behind that?
Honestly, I mean, I've seen it on and off being, a little kid. I think my first actual exposure to wrestling was sometime in the late 90s. Watching WCW, my dad used to watch Nitro when I was not allowed to watch WWF because it was too, risque at that time. And I was probably like 6 or 7 around that time, like 98, 99. So if I wanted to watch wrestling, I had to watch Nitro. And that was like kind of the pier where they were doing good and then falling off. But I liked Sting and DDP. So I started watching it a little bit, and then, eventually I kind of fell out of watching it. And then later on, probably around the time I'm 12, 13, I start going over to my uncle's house, and he would always like buy the pay-per-views back in the day. So I started kind of watching it with him on and off. And one of the first things that he showed me that I remember like super stuck with me was like I can't remember the exact name of the DVD, but it was like it was about the Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen. It was like a documentary on them. And that was like the first thing that I saw that got me really like hooked into it and interested in it. And then from then on thereforth, I started watching like, SmackDown or Raw every week. And I think I got in right around the time Carlito and John Cena were feuding for the US title. As like my first that I was watching weekly.
So around like 2004, 2005, probably.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was around the time that I was watching religiously, like every week.
Because I know they did the Armageddon match in 2005, because that was one of the matches that I had on a VHS tape, because I had the Armageddon VHS tape. It's kind of dating myself a little bit too.
But yeah, that was my kind of like breaking into it. And of course the games always helped. I think the first wrestling game I actually ever played was Just Bring It on the PS2. No, sorry guys, I'm not a No Mercy kid. I never played No Mercy. Never. I played it when I got older. I played it when I got older because I heard like people talk so much about it. But the first one I ever played was Just Bring It. And then after that, I played all of them like that they kept releasing. Some of my favorites were actually Day of Reckoning. I loved those games. Like the GameCube 2 that they did, I loved them. Those are some of my fondest memories. And then also the OG SVR on PS2 and SVR 6. So that was when I was already like fully in and fully committed.
My sister had a PS2 growing up, and it was actually her game. But my first wrestling game I ever remember playing is Here Comes the Pain.
Yep, that's a classic.
Genuinely. I've told this to so many people. There were probably a massive segment of wrestling and WWE fans that wouldn't be fans if they didn't grow up with the games.
Yeah, no, that's true. I agree with that 100% because there's a lot of nostalgia in those games too.
Yeah. And like I even feel like that's a little bit of the same today. Of like if you have somebody in a friend group that's a wrestling fan and bought the game, and then one of their friends wants to play a game with them, it's just like a fighting game. It's like a Mortal Kombat type thing. It's and like they might not be a wrestling fan. They buy the game. They see somebody that's cool. Then they decide to watch the show. WWE like really has a strangle system on that. And it's
that's kind. I mean, and that's kind of how I got into it. Like as a kid, you know, because it was like a fighting game per se. Yeah. And you know, you just like start seeing characters you like. You start playing it, and you're like, wait a minute, they got a TV show with this, and then you know, that's really it.
Yeah.
Perfect formula.
And like Here Comes the Pain has some of like the stuff I really wish like some of the more modern games had too, where like they have like sometimes I feel with the modern games you're a bit like stuck to what you can do because of like animations and stuff.
Yeah, like you're kind of like in a box sometimes.
Yeah, like even with like weapon placement, like where you can place weapons, like I feel like there's not as much freedom. Where back in the old games it was like full sandbox. So
yeah, there's a lot of freedom, a lot of just whatever you wanted to do, anything goes type of stuff.
I feel like the true balance, like a true balance game where you have freedom and like because I'd love like the realistic looking game and like how they're actually trying to put like a simulation wrestling game. I don't want them to go away from that.
Yeah, no, I don't either. That would kill it. Like that's where a lot of people we're talking about the AEW game when it came out, and there was a ton of people saying, "Are you guys going to switch to that?" I'm like, "This is like super arcadey. Nothing about this like looks like real. Nothing about it like looks, you know what I mean? It's just it's so like stiff and just in its like own niche, which you know, people want to do fighting games like that, like more in that old aspect of the wrestling games, by all means. But for like show production, it just won't work.
Like I know. Probably 2K15 was one of my favorite games because like I remember that was one of the first games that they really like went full scale into like the realistic simulation type.
Yeah,
because 2K14 had some of that, but it was still a little.
It was still the arcadey kind of bit, But it had I would say it had a good blend of it. It had a good blend of like, you know, the realism and the simulation aspect and then kind of the arcade stuff. But definitely, yeah, around 2K15 is when they were like, all right, we're full like simulation now. No more of the arcade stuff. Then they kind of have slowly phased that out now.
Because like where I feel like is the perfect balance is I feel like if you had like you said, like a 2K14 or something where you still have the freedom, but also the game looks like a 2025 game should look.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm worried about 25 a little bit too. I'm waiting for them to get away from like, you know, the old gen systems, and because I feel like it's still kind of holding them back from like stepping it up to the next level, like especially like graphic wise. I mean, if they're still having to make games for the PS4 and Xbox One, I mean, you're kind of holding back the entire game from like what can it really be with like the way graphics are now, because I mean, we've seen a lot of games that are not even AAA and stuff, and just like smaller games that have like really, really good graphics. I mean, hell, you remember the TNA game from back in the day? That game was insanely ahead of the time graphically. That game was beautiful graphically. It just played like shit, but it looked great. It looked awesome. And I feel like they've yet to really kind of get to that level until the past few years. So I feel like they kind of got to step it up in the graphics department another time, because it's 2025. We got to get like, the game doesn't look as good as it could look. It could look so much better.
And me and a couple of our guys have talked about it, where like we don't know, like you said, we're waiting for stuff to come out about 25.
Yeah,
and
should be any time now too.
Yeah, it should be, because they were talking about it should be out sometime in March, and it's already January. So if the game's going to be out in March, they need to announce something soon.
I think they're going to do what they did last year, which was obviously release it in March. But when the Royal Rumble comes around, I think it's when they're going to just like dump a bunch of information. Like, here it is. Okay, here you go, and here's the release date. Because that's pretty much what they did last year. We didn't see nothing about it until the Rumble, and then it was just like, boom, here it is, and here's all the stuff for it. So, but I'm hoping for some I'm hoping for some good stuff this year. I know the thing I've always wanted back in the games is story designer. I need that. I need story designer back bad. So if I had one wish, it'd be that. Just give me that back and keep like everything else the same, and I'd be happy. Like that's all I want.
I want story designer could help out so much with like production of videos and stuff.
Yeah, a ton. It would help unlimit some things for sure.
We've talked about it a bit where we're like, if something's not done in 2K25 that we think would help like video or like the show production, we've genuinely talked about like not crossing the game over, like not switching until we switch to PC, like not buying the game for the new system. Because newsflash, guys, a little behind the scenes, UKW is done on console while they've probably been on PC for years, and we're behind the.
Yeah, I think we switched sometime in like 2021, I think. That sounds right. Whenever that whole time when 20 came out and it was terrible and people were still using 19, that's when we decided, all right, let's move to console and try it out. And it's been great. We've really all had a blast with it.
I think looking back, people need to understand like 2K19 genuinely might be one of the best wrestling.
It is, yeah. It's up there. It really was up there. It really was. I know we had a little bit of a longer time with it because of 20, but it still was. I would put it in my top 5 for sure. It's really good. We had a lot of good times on there.
One thing I've always said would be on my wish list just for like production of videos. I want like a create a weapon or like a weapon customization thing. Because just for me, I think like, imagine if you could just like change the color of a steel chair. Like you can make it like gray.
Yeah.
Blue.
We did some of that. Yeah, we had a couple of mods for changing the chair color at Divinity, and it was just cool, like because it was different. Like some of those like old like the beige chairs from back in the day, and even like the gray ones or the light blue ones. Like just something simple, and that's something simple they could easily like do, like change the color of it. Like it's literally easy. So yeah, it would be cool to see some stuff like that.
Like
something simple.
Even like the black ladders that they used to use. Stuff like that.
Yep, making them a different color. Simple and straightforward.
Like it's not like and I think with them adding the barbed wire bat and the door and all that stuff that they added last year, that they are getting into adding more of like weapons that maybe we might not see on TV for WWE, but they know that that's what the community wants. I feel like they're getting into more of that stuff.
Yeah, because I was shocked when they did the
me too.
The light tube. And I was like, I don't know when the last time we saw a friggin' light tube on WWE was, but we'll take it. We like it. Keep bringing it over.
No, I'm genuine to be serious. I was surprised when they did the throwing thing, where like you could throw.
Yeah, that's one of the best new mechanics they put in 24. That and the strike exchange, those both were amazing. Like just little like additions like that would be very welcome to get in the new game.
Hoping eventually they bring back a feature. Do you remember the chain wrestling system?
Oh my God, we can't talk about that. I'll go on like a 15-minute rant on that. That's one of the things I definitely want back. Something like that at the beginning, like 19 had, or even better. Back in I think it was either the OG SBR or 06. When you started the match, he gave you like 4 options. It had like a test of strength option, or like a test of strength. It was like a lockup, and then they had like some like heal stuff you could do. I can't remember exactly what, but y'all know what I'm talking about. They had like 4 ways you could start the match off. That was super cool. Something just easy, simple like that. Yeah, we definitely need it too, because it makes the matches look better and flow better when they look like an actual wrestling match where people are wrestling instead of just in a strike fest or stuff. So yeah, that'd be nice for 25 to see something like that too.
Because I just think it would make it editing wise a lot like less you have to do if more stuff was.
Yep. It would mean less like behind the scenes like stuff you'd have to do and higher production. And they just give us some more options inside of a match. Yeah.
And like you said, I feel like a lot of that could be done with just the story designer.
Yep, that too. That helped a lot back in the day with the story designers.
One thing we talked about, and I'm curious to see how you would feel about being that we're on like a new stuff in the game tangent. How would you feel about like a creative finisher? That way, like, you could really do something that would make each character seem a bit unique.
It's not nothing I would like have to have. I remember the one they had back. I mean, I technically say back in the day now. The one they had back on like the 360 era of the games.
Mm-hmm.
There were like very rarely some of them look cool, but a lot of them look like very robotic and picking the thing. So if they could tweak it up and make it look cooler, then yeah, I'd be for it. But if it's just going to be what it was before, and they could leave that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel the same way. If it's going to look like as jumpy as it looked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was super jump cutty and rough.
I feel like with the new mechanics, they might be able to make it look a little better.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays they could get a better system down, maybe. But I feel like that would require probably a lot.
Yeah, I think that's why we haven't seen it, because I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago they put out like they polled the community about what they wanted.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And like creative finisher was kind of high, and then they just never mentioned.
What number one story designer, and we still ain't got it again? I swear it was up there. I thought if I remember right, it was really high.
Yeah, it was really high. Another thing that was really high was like, because I remember I got kind of frustrated. It was Spotify like being able to be in game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, because I was just starting UKW at the time when they released that. And I was like, that does nothing for me. I can't use that.
Yeah. I don't think it's something they could probably do anyway. That would be like a lot of loopholes and things to get around with the music and everything. It would be probably tough. But if you're on PC, you could just, you can just mod music in the game.
Yeah.
You eliminate that. That's a fun little system. We don't use it for anything because I do all the music and editing, but it's still a fun little cool feature. Like a cool little mod you can do, like just throw people's music in there, or update current, wrestlers with their actual themes and stuff.
But yeah, I do think the games are trending in a good direction. I think 2K24 was a good game.
Yeah, overall, I was pretty happy with it. I wish they would just do a few things different and put a little bit more focus in some different directions. And I think they would be really, really cooking. But they got to do a little bit more first to get to there, I think. But they're in a good direction. It's definitely better than some of the past games in recent years.
The thing I will say that I was most unhappy about, though, was like the DLC stuff.
Yeah, some of them were pretty lackluster.
Like, not saying that I don't like old school stuff, but like the only one that we got that had like some exciting moves in it was the one with like Dragon Lee and that pack. I forgot the name.
Yeah.
But
it had a bunch of cool little moves in it too.
Yeah, besides that we got like a WCW pack which had like a lot of vintage moves, which I guess for the right audience is cool.
Yeah.
And it's just nothing I could see like the way I do my show people using, because it's a lot more slower and stuff. So I feel like maybe if it fits the right character, you could do something with it. It's just, I'd like to see some, because they used to do this thing called the New Moves Pack. I think you're going to know what that is.
Yeah, I remember that.
And every time they would
that was always a fun time.
Yeah, because they just put indie moves in the game. That's
all they would do. Just a ton of stuff. Just throw them out there. That was worth it. They should probably try to focus on some more stuff like that too. Just little small stuff would be nice.
Because the Pat McAfee pack was basically the New Moves pack, because all they did was put indie wrestlers' movesets on
those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat and his buddies. That was one thing out of left field that I was like, okay, like really caught off by. I was like, all right then, I guess. I mean, I get Pat McAfee, sure. I mean, if you want to put him in there, but okay, I guess his friends get to come along too. It was just odd, but it was cool, I guess. Like the moves were cool.
Darius and AJ I thought were kind of cool because they were like ex-football players.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the other two, I was like, come on.
Who are these guys, man?
But now that we talked about like how you became a wrestling fan, how would you describe like your story of getting into like wrestling, like call creation and wrestling creation on YouTube?
Honestly, my first way I was introduced to it was I had just like gotten a 360 not like super long after it launched. It's like the first thing I ever saved up my own money and bought for myself was my 360. But I remember like buying SmackDown vs. Raw 07. And me and my uncle would play like tag matches online and stuff. And then, you know, there was other games we played at the time, like Gears of War, whatever the Call of Duty would have been, whichever one would have been out then. And some other little things here and there. So one day we were playing another game and I get like a message, like a voice message. And it was one of those message all recent players type things. And it was a guy explaining to me like he was going to do his own show with all created like custom superstars. And he was trying to see who would want to be a part of it. And so I thought like I got that message and it's like for anybody who knows me, like they'll be like, yeah, that's a Shannon move. Like I heard the message and I was like, damn, that's a good idea. I should just do that myself. And then I literally like, I started looking around on, somebody had told me that like, yeah, some people used to do that like by themselves on YouTube. And so, I had like looked up, what was it? Like ICCW, SMF, No DQ, you know, all the like the funny kind of call shows that really started like what CAW was. So I went back and like looked through some of them and watched them and stuff. And I was like, this is cool. And I was just like, this would be a fun thing to get into. And that was pretty much it.
But yeah, that like, I would say what really got me into, probably got a lot of people into call is, like, I remember coming home from school and watching, like, Chris's My Career videos and stuff like that. Like, and I'd say, like, probably video recommendations from that is really, like, because he would put, like, call in, like, the tags and stuff.
Yeah,
and
so you get
like,
a bunch of actual shows and stuff that would just pop up from there.
Yeah, so, like, I guess I could say the YouTube algorithm really, like, got us involved and stuff. But it's like, since we started, we've seen y'all's stuff that has been like massive inspirations and stuff like that. And of how we're doing our stuff now. But before that, we had done Murph, who's starting to really blow up now.
Oh, I know, dude. I've talked to him like once or twice, and I hate that he kind of had to let his universe mode go, but I understood why he did it from like a creator career aspect, and it's worked wonders for him. Like some of the new content he does now.
Yeah, it's like, it's an understandable thing when you look at like how his content has boosted because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are really behind the content he's putting out right now. And it's really good stuff. I've watched a couple of things. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, we've talked, we were recently just talking about doing some extra stuff. Some of the other guys want to do some extra stuff to put on the channel. Like some of those like fantasy booking kind of things, and like some of the news for 2K25 when it starts getting revealed. So I think we're going to start kind of playing with throwing some of that stuff up too, alongside the shows, to try to bring more people into the universe mode, into SWW and what we do. Because at the end of the day, you're playing a game with the YouTube algorithm. You're trying to beat it, and you're trying to play it to your advantage. And that's one of the things you got to kind of do is like, all right, what is people watching or looking for right now? And if you're able to capitalize on that, then you can get people. Because we've got a ton of like, I did like the little, I guess I'll call it an experiment. And we also did it for fun too. The little My GM mode we were doing.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that first part video that I threw up got more views than anything on the channel. Like as of right now, currently, it blew the hell up. And it was, I think it was because it was around the time when the game had first came out and it was something new, and you don't really see people doing like 4-player ones and stuff. So it was kind of like a perfect storm, and people like flocked to it and like found the channel because of just that one little video. And there were a lot of people that was like that watched SWW after that video, and they're like, wow, I never knew you guys existed, or I never knew people did stuff like this. And so that's why me and some of the other guys were talking. We need to do like more things like that to bring people from the outside in to see SWW and what we regularly do. So I think that's going to be like a big game plan of ours for this year.
I've talked about and I kind of need to do that before they because I kind of need to do that before they release anything, about like making like my wish list for 2K25. I know people make those. And I feel like as a creator, you have a bit of insight to like say what you think should be in the game, because like if it was you making the game, like what you would
what you would put in there, what you would want to see.
Yeah. And we've talked about that too, because I do trios commentary, and we were talking about having the three of us do a GM mode when 2K25 starts, kind of like backpacking off of like what y'all did.
Yeah.
Because I saw that we've been trying to expand about like the content on the channel as well. This the whole reason that Creator Insight became a thing, is because we're trying to expand like what is on the channel and stuff. So we have been talking about like if you're doing primarily call stuff, expanding out to stuff that may not be call, might not be what the people that subscribe to your channel came to see. So it's like kind of playing with the algorithm to see how that stuff works.
You kind of got you like I said, you kind of got to do that at the end of the day. And I mean, you can't. It's hard. It's very hard to like kind of grow, especially in like a niche. Like you already said it at the beginning, wrestling's a niche thing. It's coming, a little bit more popular again now, but it's always going to be a niche no matter what. And what we do with CAW is probably always kind of going to be a niche too. So now you're at a glass ceiling kind of point. So you need to do whatever you kind of can to get it out there. But I mean, like I said, I think it's something that's like people might not like, but at the end of the day, it's going to help everybody out more. If there's more people coming to watch the shows that, everybody wants to see and they care about, that we majorly do and we like doing, if more people are going to come and see that, then that's a win for everybody at the end of the day. And that's, I don't mean to like drift like off topic, but I will go just a little off topic. That's one thing that always kind of bugged me too, coming up in this community and coming up in CAW in general. There's a lot of gatekeeping, and there's a lot of people who are higher up. If you know, and the shoe fits, wear it. But there's a lot of people who want to gatekeep, and they don't want to help others succeed. They don't want to give any tips or handouts or anything. They don't want to help anybody out. They want everything for themselves. And to me, that's just disgusting and ridiculous, because we're all here for one reason. We like the same stuff. We like wrestling, and we like creating wrestling content. If I can help somebody at the end of the day learn something that I wish I would have learned a long time ago, then I'm going to do it. It's not going to hurt me. It's not going to hurt anybody else. If we're all supposed to be like a big community and really a community, then that's what we should be doing.
Because I've always heard, like where I'm from, like I've always heard that like a rising tide lifts all ships. If I'm getting more viewers, they might have not seen SWW stuff. So then because some of our guys are over on let's just use, for example, like an Andre Simmons or Orlando Silver, they're on SWW. So if somebody be like, oh, this is UKW has a guy over on SWW. He might be doing something completely different character-wise over there. Let me go see what he's doing.
Yeah, different stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Because
that goes for any and everybody. That's why we like working with Matt from Madness and trying to help like promote his stuff, and we do the same thing back and forth with them. And I remember you were telling me that, you were a little intimidated to reach out and like DM me. I'll tell anybody, if you want to DM me. I'm like one of the most down to earth, just simple kind of people. Like, don't be afraid. Like, it may, depending on how many, like how big my inbox is and what I'm doing and how much time I got, I'll get to you eventually, but I'll get to you. So hit me up, if anybody's got questions or you want advice or something. I try to always instill that I want to be the person that I wish I would have had coming up in the community and trying to learn and trying to grow. So that's what I want to be for anybody else who's younger than I am, or doesn't matter your age, even if you're just getting in the community. I want to be that kind of person that I wish I would have had back in the day.
Then that's like, it wasn't as much as I was worried about like a bad response back, like I don't do stuff like that. It's like you were saying, I'm imagining a lot of people are like in the inbox, so some stuff can get lost.
It does sometimes. You gotta think, there's definitely is a lot of people I talk to daily, whether it be like production in the show or people on the roster or all the people in the PC. So it's like, I'm always doing something. Like something is always going on. That's one thing, but.
And like we've seen, another thing that we saw y'all do that we've genuinely thought about a little bit, the more and more we go, is like we totally love the idea of like the PC and Rush and all that. We love that, like how that could, because that created more content for y'all, as well as gave a way for y'all's community to be involved. And
it was
perfect.
Yeah, when we first started, when I first came up with the idea for that, some of us was like kind of on the thing of, this will be a good idea, and then there were some of us like, I don't know, it might be hard to pull off, but I think it ended up working out perfectly, and as a good reward for people that's trying to help support the show and the production of it, to actually be a part of not just the community but it as a whole, instead of just some whack kind of rewards that people give out, like just to speak to them or something like that. Like I ain't about all that. So,
but yeah, and like it just shows like that y'all are okay with like having people from outside involved in stuff, and
oh yeah,
it's sick like that. I really do, and I love the idea of like the 3 coaches thing, and it was very unique.
Yeah, well we got 4 now. We got 4 now. We had to add another like little coaching team too, so we ended up going with 4 now, and they picked up like pretty good too. And everybody kind of has like something else different that they're kind of good at, and so we kind of play that along, in the show aspect too, but also behind the scenes it kind of works out too, because we all like are trying to help each other, no matter what camp they're in or none of that kind of stuff. But on the show it works out cool. Somebody equated it to the Harry Potter houses, and I was like, it kind of is.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking about it. It's kind of like when I first saw it, the first thing I thought of was like the different MMA like teams. Like that was the first thing I thought about when I saw it. So
I could definitely see that too.
Yeah. Now, getting dialed down a little bit, this is for SWW and your individual call yourself. What would you say are your biggest inspirations when creating stuff for Silveria?
That's always a hard question to answer, because honestly, I mean, you can probably tell by looking at me, I just make my character based off of me. Like, it's just literally, I just use my face texture. I have like pretty much the same look, everything. The only thing different, some extra tattoos and a little bit more of a toned figure. But I mean, that's really it. I just kind of go based off of what my like interests and likes are for stuff. But that's really it. I mean, real wrestler inspiration wise, it would have to be Kenny Omega, Minoru Suzuki, Edge, Randy Orton, Triple H. That would be my like probably top 5 right there that I like.
Okay.
In no specific order.
And as far as like SWW, you wouldn't say there's like any kind of like promotion y'all were like real life promotion y'all were like, oh, I like how they do matches. We're gonna implement a bit of that, or
it depends, because there's a lot of us behind the scenes, and we all like a bunch of different stuff, which I think like works out great. Because there's like some people at the end of the day. There's some people at the end of the day is like they just watch WWE. That is it. They've never watched like any indie stuff. There no Japanese wrestling, no Mexico wrestling, like nothing. So, and then there's some guys who like literally just like all Japan from back in the day. And then, you know, all of us keep up with what's going on in the E, and we're watching it, you know, but there are some people who like, that's all they do. And there's some people like, I was like huge, and I mean huge on like the AEW wagon when they first started, because it was a breath of fresh air. It was a really good take on professional wrestling instead of just sports entertainment. But, yeah, they fell off really hard in the past couple years, and it breaks my heart to see what it became, because I went to like a few of those shows around the time when they were like super hot, and it was just such an amazing atmosphere, and just it was you felt like you were really part of something. And then I don't know what I really don't know what the hell happened, but it's like to me they completely abandoned the storytelling aspect are a part of it, and that's what me and some of the guys like always talk about. You got to have both. You got to have professional wrestling, because it's wrestling at the end of the day, but you also got to have storytelling and storylines. One can't exist without the other. You have to have the story to lead to the match that blows the story off. That's pro wrestling. You need them both in a relationship to both be good to come together to make a complete good show.
It's storytelling like as a whole, because like if you have all this build and don't have like a good final action, then what was all that build for? But if you have no build and then a massive like moment that comes with no build, then it's like, why? Yeah,
it's not. It wasn't worth the ride then at that point.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, like, I'm a huge, like, I'm a pretty big, like, TV buff, like, drama series and stuff. So, like, my favorite of all time is definitely Breaking Bad. I think it's the best show to ever exist. It's the best writing for a drama show to exist. They knew when to end it. They knew how to wrap it up. And a good counterpart to that is Game of Thrones. It was amazing for most of the show until, like, the last season, and then it had a terrible ending. It fell off a cliff. Now, imagine that in a wrestling aspect. You have a great build. It all goes great, and then the final like match and everything sucks. You ruined the whole thing. Like, and that's what people will remember at the end of the day is, yeah, that was great, you know, a great story, and then they had the match and the match sucked. So it's you gotta have that tit for tat. You gotta have both of them to coexist to make the formula.
I 100% agree with that, because like you can even see like actual wrestling, it applies for more than just like universe modes and stuff. It applies to actual wrestling too, because you can see like there's multitude of storylines like that where it's had like really good builds and then the match just fell flat.
Yeah, and like I said, you think about it like in a show aspect of pro wrestling, it's the same thing as like a drama series you're watching. You're suspending your disbelief and you're investing in the story that's being told. So when something happens that doesn't really like fit the story or doesn't make sense to the narrative, then it's gonna funk it up a little bit.
Now that we talked about like your inspiration for SWW and all that, you sitting here right now, it is January 4th. Let's say January 2026. Where do you see SWW at? Do y'all see yourselves as like hopefully doing some new innovative stuff like you've talked about?
I hope to see us continue to grow like we have been. My goal for 26 would be to get over 10K subs. That would be a nice like milestone to hit. So that would probably be my like prime goal. Obviously, you know, the more we can grow and the more we can grow just not only the show with the viewers, but just our community too. I mean, our Discord community is pretty big, I think. I mean, it's like 600 and almost 50 some people. So I would like to see that grow even more. And I would like to see obviously the channel and stuff grow. even more than it has. And this past year has been like our best year for growth, I think ever. So if we can, continue what we're doing and improve how quickly we can upload content, I think we'll be pretty good off. But that's what we were actually talking about the other day. We need to figure out a little bit more of a better system to get content out in a quicker manner, as soon as possible.
I would say that's the thing that probably UKW does, is because like we do like way less production than y'all do, like on a grander scale. Like y'all, I'd say an average episode of Adrenaline's probably like what, 2 hours, something.
Yeah, we usually shoot them to try to be, obviously, like we're never gonna time them out. Like we don't need to do all that because we don't got commercial breaks or none of that mess. So we usually shoot for the Adrenalines and Blitzes to be like 5 matches in between like 5 to 8 segments, shooter, hit or miss. So we shoot for around it kind of being 2 hours altogether. Sometimes they'll go a little over, like the season premieres. Hell, I think the Adrenaline was like 3.5 hours. So it went a little too over, but it kind of made sense with what we were trying to do, and it being the season premiere. We was like, this one can be a little longer. It'll be all right. So, but that's mostly what we shoot for, is like 2 hours. Yeah.
We've been talking about like we need to find a way to improve like what we're doing, because right now the Renegades we shoot for like an hour up. So we have tried to, because we shoot for 1 upload a week right now.
Okay.
And
that's always a good thing to do. That's what I was doing with Rush before, but I'm having to try to take some of like that focus, put it on the main show, because the main show is what people want to see. So okay. I've had to take some of that off of Rush and be like, all right. And it didn't help also being the holidays, and you got that back to back. So, but now it's all over. We all had a good holiday and good New Year. So now we get back to cranking up again and getting rolling.
And like, I was talking to another creator about it, and it's like you said, it's a niche in a niche, so you have to like set your expectations for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Involved. Like you can't get involved and see like Chris and Brandon and be like, oh, that's where I want to be. They do a completely different style of content than. Oh
yeah, completely, 110% different.
While it's the same game, it's a completely different style of content. While people that watch our content might like their content as well, that doesn't mean that it's the same niche.
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all. But I will tell you one thing that I think is good about the call niche. I guess that's what we'll call it. There's a lot more dedicated of a fan base that is coming out to you to watch your content and stuff. So I've seen channels that have like 800-900 subs or so, getting, the view counts of other people's channels doing other things that have like 5,000-6,000. It's because there's more dedicated people that like everything you upload, they're watching. So it's a lot more like active and dedicated people who are coming to the content, who are a part of the community. That was one thing I tried to focus on too when we, built the Discord and everything, is to make it a community. That you pull everybody together. We're all doing this for the same reasons. So why not, like you said, having all the how'd you put it? The raising tides, rise all ships.
Rising tides lift all ships.
There you go. I like that. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna go write that down. So that's kind of how I've always thought about it in that aspect. Is like, we're all doing the same thing. Why not just help each other and everybody out?
So like, that's what I was saying, and like, you should never get into YouTube as a whole. No matter what content you create, you should never get into YouTube trying to do it for like. At least that's what I've always heard. You should never get into YouTube to do it financially, because it messes up your goals. And like, it messes up where your brain wants to be.
Yeah, but I could see that from an aspect for some people in a lot of things. I'm actually like kind of in that aspect now though, of being able to pursue the channel full time. So I'm kind of in that boat of being able to pursue this as like a full-time career and doing it as what I want to do to make a living. But that was one thing that, you know, we've all had the discussion with behind the scenes. It's not going to change how we corely operate things, but it might, you know, it might change some things about like how we were saying earlier, like how to bring new people to the channel and get new people to come watch what we're producing. But at the end of the day, it's never going to corrupt or change anything internally. I mean, that can definitely happen with a lot of people and a lot of things. That is for sure. When you put money in something involved, it changes. And that's just not this, that's anything. That's, you know, bands, that's people who work normal jobs. That's any kind of like career, especially that's like a sort of aspect that's not a normal job. You know what I mean? There's always room for like corruption and like people to like lose sight of the dream, so to speak.
Somebody feels like that they're not really getting what they're putting in back, and then they get all, salty about it and stuff.
Yep.
But
that happens in everything. But that's one good thing with us is we've not let that, and I don't think we're gonna have an issue with that anytime in the future ever, because we're a pretty tight group of people. I don't think a lot of people know about the guys a part of the team from the outside looking in. I mean, let's see. So the majority of us have all been friends for probably going on around 11 or 12 years, I think. Maybe a little bit longer, give or take. There's some people like Strider. I've known him ever since, the guy who plays Jack Strider. I've known him ever since I started doing Call. Like, I literally met him back in SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. And then some of the other guys that are older, like Everett Creed and Ace Whistler, I've known them since SVR 2010, 2011, something around there. So a lot of us, we've known each other for a long time. We've met up in person plenty of times. The guy who is behind the character Angelo actually moved down to North Carolina a couple years ago. And so I only live like an hour from him. That's why he comes out here when we do commentary. And the guy behind Everett Creed and Lips and Jack Thomas, the commentator, he just recently moved down here to North Carolina. So we're all much more than like a group of friends. We're really like our family. Like, a lot of us have been there for each other's best times and their worst times. So we're much more just than a group of people making something at the end of the day. We really are. And I think that shows in what we produce and how people know us too. It's just a different kind of thing. You know what I mean?
And I'll actually say that I have some very similar like stuff with that. Like, the two people that I do UKW with, we've been friends, the three of us, for 10 plus years. And when you're doing trios commentary, you have to have some form of like flow between
chemistry.
The three of you. Yeah, because like, I've done commentary with people, and it's like I've probably talked to them a couple of times, and then I've done commentary and you just flow.
Oh yeah.
There's just some people you flow with. Like, I've done guest commentary on other people's stuff before, and we just flowed. But I've also been asked to do videos with other people, and I just knew that the chemistry wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
Yeah, and I'm like,
I get that. That happens.
Like, I feel like we're having a pretty good conversation here.
Yeah, I think so too. We've went off topic a few times on a good escapade too.
So, like you said, you are really. So we'll kind of jump to 6 before my question 6 before 5. So you were talking about how you are starting to be able to really see a goal where you could see like doing SWW and doing Coalition full time and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like something you see like in the mirror, like in the dashboard, or is that something that's kind of like just on the horizon? It's something you can see, but it's going to take you a little bit to get there, or is it something much closer than that?
I think it's a blend of kind of both. It depends. I think I definitely see it like on the horizon. It's just a matter of when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not in no rush. I'll get there when I get there is the way I look at it. I'm having fun doing it. You know, it don't feel like a job to me when I'm sitting down to write stuff or record stuff or edit stuff. And
Like
so it's not something that's gonna become a job, if you get what I'm saying. You know, it's not something I'm gonna be like, oh shit, I gotta wake up today and I gotta record this segment, or I gotta write this promo, or I gotta edit this show. It's never gonna be nothing like that, because I've been doing this for a long time and I never felt that way. So when it's something you like doing, it don't feel like work.
No, I love doing like just like wrestling production, show production. Because I trained for a little bit as like an actual wrestler. That shit was not for me. It is. I've taken a few bumps in a ring before. It's not fun. That is for the birds.
It is not. It is definitely not fun. That is for sure. I definitely like the creative aspect more than the physicality aspect.
And like you were talking about gatekeeping within call. You want to talk about gatekeeping like as a whole. Real life wrestling has a whole lot of gatekeeping.
Oh yeah, a whole lot. Mm-hmm.
Like
a whole lot of it.
As a person on the outside that has like if you don't have a connection in a wrestling company, you're not getting anything behind the scenes. All.
But that's kind of similar to like a lot of other like, you know,
Medias.
Egregious careers too, like, you know, music or acting or something. If you don't know, a lot of stuff is in who you know. A lot of stuff is in who you know, and that really even goes for normal, you know, everyday real life jobs too. A lot of life is who you know, and you know, sometimes if you don't have that person, you know, it can be a hell of a lot harder trying to get to where you're trying to be at. But that's just life sometimes too, though. It's like that.
Everybody's always said like networking is super important. That's what I guess reaching out to you could technically be saying, like just trying to get different ideas. Like just talking to you has helped me like in like how to think about certain different things, because y'all been doing this for a lot longer. We just hit 380 today, actually. 380 subs today. And we started this January will make a year and a half, 2 years. So
that's pretty good actually for that like little amount of time. That's actually pretty good, because there's some people like who I know for a bit who've like ran stuff for maybe a little over a few years, and they're just like, you know, around like over 500-ish and stuff. So that's not bad for just doing like a year and a half, like you said. That's not bad at all. That's actually a pretty good little start. That means you got somehow you were hitting the algorithm right, and you got people like coming up and showing up and actually subbing and staying like, you know, invested in what you're doing.
I don't know how. So when I created the channel, blank channel, nothing on it, right? We uploaded our first ever video, which was the championship tournament. First video, 1,000 views. Never nothing uploaded on the channel.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it didn't make no sense to me. And I've done different channels. I did the channel about the Titans before. Like I've done YouTube channels in the past. It made no sense to me. And everybody I talk to says that just doesn't make sense because it had nothing to go off of.
Sometimes the YouTube algorithm's weird, man. It is a weird beast. Like sometimes even I think I know it, or at least got a good idea of it. And it's odd. Sometimes it'll do stuff like that. I've actually seen a lot in my recommended here lately, like newer channels or like, you know, a channel that only has like a few videos, and whatever they recently put up is in like my recommended. So, but that's good. If YouTube's trying to do that, that means they're trying to get, you know, people who are just starting out a little, you know, boost up. So that's good. It means they're not being buried like they used to be, because I know not too long ago, like 5, 6 years ago on YouTube, it was hard as shit to start out as a new channel. You were screwed, like, because 9 times out of 10, nothing you put up unless it went viral is going to be in the algorithm. So that's good that they're doing that now. That means they're at least like trying to showcase, like, hey, here's like a newer channel or somebody that's just trying something new or a newer video. So that's good. That's a good thing on YouTube's part.
Yeah, and it's like something I definitely see, because like cause a cycle. You see these channels like, and like that's why I'm glad y'all have been doing content so long. And you see the rise of like certain cause shows, and then like some take breaks and leave and like disband and stuff like that. And then that gives other cause shows a chance to, like, say for example, a cause show
take that gap.
Yeah, and then another show gets to place in, because there's always going to be people that want to watch CAW. I think it's a big enough niche that people are going to always want to watch it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll always be something that's going to continuously, like, grow. Might grow a little slowly, but I think also what I was talking about, too, earlier is how wrestling is now becoming more kind of popular again. That's going to do nothing but help, call stuff out. The more people that get into actual wrestling, there's going to be more people getting into call and the kind of content we do and stuff.
150%. Because the more people, the better that the games are. Because I will say something. When 2K20 delivered and was so bad, it crippled anything on YouTube that involved the games.
Yep.
Because
the only videos I remember seeing when that came out was how bad the game was. That was it. That was the only thing related to the game, was how bad it was. And there was no kind of content for it whatsoever until after they had fixed it.
Yeah. 2K20 wasn't getting any views, and then 2K19. Do you remember the time where people were just saying 2K Universe mode? Yep.
Because you couldn't use 2K20 because nobody was looking for it, and you couldn't use 2K19 because it was old now, wasn't nobody looking for it. So you used 2K, and that was how that kind of got started. We did that too for a hot minute when we were on 19 on the modded version of 19 on PC. I was like, just put 2K in there. Don't put 19. Don't put 20. Don't put nothing. Just put 2K. People know it's WWE 2K. So I was like, let's just put that in there.
So I think, but I also think that 2K can't afford to make another bad wrestling game. I don't really.
No, they can't. I don't think they can at this point. I don't know what their status is on how much longer. Yeah, like how much longer they have this license for and stuff. But they can't afford another bad one. They can't. Not after 20. 20 hurt them so bad, and then they took the year after that off. No, they can't afford another bad one now. They'll lose that license to somebody else.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've seen a lot of people say that they'd rather EA Sports to have it. I'm going to tell you what, as a Madden fan, you don't want that to happen. Do not wish that evil on us. Don't do it. Because I would much rather take 2K over EA, because I'm a huge football fan, and they hadn't made a good Madden game. God, I can't remember the last time I really liked one was. It's been a long time. I think the last pretty decent one, it had to have been one of the 18 or 19, I think, that I was like, yeah, okay, this is fun. I like it. But definitely
depends on which EA department they put on it, because if they put the Madden department on it, we're screwed.
But if they put all they focus on is Ultimate Team and selling them Ultimate Team packs, and that's it. They don't give a shit about franchise mode. They don't care about a career mode. They don't care about none of that. And at the end of the day, when I want to play a Madden game, that's what I wanted to do. I want to do franchise, or most time franchise is what I played. That was the most funnest, was doing franchise mode. But it'd be nice to have a fun little career mode and stuff. But nowadays, if you buy them, it's just people who play Ultimate Team. That's it. That's all there is.
If they get the people that make the UFC or FIFA games, if they get those groups, because they're different. I'm imagining they're different.
Different umbrellas?
Yeah, I can't imagine the same people that make the Madden games make the UFC games or the FIFA games.
Nah.
Are completely different.
No, we've got to be different teams.
Yeah.
I know that last UFC game kind of bombed, or I've heard negative stuff about it, but the one before that, I think it was 3. I loved the shit out of that game. That game was super fun. It was well done.
Yeah.
FIFA I can't speak on. I ain't never played FIFA.
Me neither. I've played a little bit, but not nothing to speak on for real.
The only soccer game I ever played was Super Mario Strikers on the GameCube. That's it. I've never been a big soccer guy, so.
But I would imagine that they would, if EA does get the license, I would imagine they would probably get the UFC team on it. If I had to think.
That's
probably.
true.
Because also,
I still think we're a little better off. I think we're still a little better off with 2K, because you remember when THQ had it and everybody was like, we want THQ to lose it, and then they lost it, and then we got 2K for like the first couple of years was a little rough. That's what I worry about. If they do lose the license, then you got to worry about, all right, who's going to get it, and then you already know the first year or two is going to be growing pains with it, because it's going to be their first time doing it.
Now that I think about it, I actually could see EA picking it up because they have the UFC.
I think they'd be probably the only they'd probably be the only people that would pick it up.
Because that WWE is owned by the same people that own UFC now.
Oh yeah, Endeavor.
Yeah, and
that would only make sense too.
Yeah, I think I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah. Depends if 2K can keep it rolling and keep the license locked down. We'll have to see how
if
25 comes.
If that's a good game, then that whole argument is left, because
they're
not going to lose money by not having a system. But anyway, we'll close with this because we're an hour in already. What do you think? Sitting here right here, like it's January 4th. What is your favorite moment, storyline, or match that you've ever booked in SWW?
That's a hard question to answer. Because most of us, we all like book as a team, and so there's really not much that like is solo booked. Like there's really not much that one guy's like, let's do this, and then we do it. It's kind of like we kind of do it like as a committee. So to be like, hey, well, we'll be thinking about doing this, and everybody would be like, yeah, I like that, or nah, I don't know. And then whatever, the democracy winning vote is what we go with.
I might actually adopt that, because a lot of my booking is just like solo, or I'll sit down with like one individual member of our committee, of our creative team, and I'll sit down with like just them and discuss some stuff. But if I could like maybe set up like once a week to sit down and plan some stuff like with all 5 of us, that'd probably be a bit better. Actually, now I might adopt that. That's probably
that's how we've mostly done stuff for a long time now. I mean, ever since this place was started. Which, fun fact, I never started SWW. It was started by Everett Cree, which is why it's called Supremacy World Wrestling, because his nickname for the longest time was the Self Supremacy. So he originally started it with him and Ace Whistler and a guy named Matt Mosley, if anybody remembers him. It was originally them 3 who kind of like started it. Oh, and Zarxy, she was a part of that too as well. So it was kind of them who started it. And then they were behind like all the, writing production stuff up until I'm trying to remember. I think up until around Sinister Intent. And that's when it was like kind of becoming too much for Everett to kind of handle, like as like the main leading guy behind the scenes. So that's when I was kind of brought in to be more behind the scenes, not just a wrestler, and then do more stuff that way. And this kind of just evolved and became my kind of baby, even though it's, all of us as a whole, because behind the scenes, there's like 8 or 9 of us that's a part of the whole like production team and creative team and stuff. But if I had to pick my favorite, I mean, obviously I really like what me and Whistler did. I really enjoyed our story. It was one that we wanted to do for a long time, that started in, some other shows and then continued over here. So part of me wants to say that because I really just enjoyed how it went. And I was one of the only people that were like, not against me going over him, but it was the first time that I had been like put in that spot to where everybody was like, no, you're going to win. Like we unanimously, that's what we want. That's what we think's best. So that was the first time that ever kind of, happened for me. So that was special. And that was nice to be able to be, it wasn't me booking myself to go over or me to be in that spot. It was everybody else going, no, it's your time. You deserve it. Go and do something with it. So that's probably my that holds something's pretty special to me. So I like, selfishly, I have to pick that, but not involving me at all. Anything Creed always does is pretty interesting because, he's that weird, like, psychological oddball character, and anything he does is always, like, interesting and just, it's going to make you watch no matter if you like him or dislike his character. You're going to, like, watch just to be like, what is crazy bastard going to do now? And, obviously what we did with Amy and Cody at Divinity, I was insanely proud of because I don't feel like women's wrestling is like very well represented, especially in Call. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like we put them on a really like platform to be like, they're equal to the men in Call. Cause I really can't think of much in Call on like a high aspect, like a high level where the women were really looked at as like they were equal to the main event. Like, because Amy and Cody was just as equal to a main event as myself and Whistler was. It was the same, match quality and everything. And that was one that I kind of, me and the person behind Cody Hale, me and him mostly solo did that match ourselves. So me and him kind of hang our hats on that match, that it was like, something we could really be proud of.
I was actually gonna say about that because, like, that's one of the things I saw Divinity, and I saw, like, that's one of the things I took from it was how y'all didn't mind, like, having that on the equal scale with the main event, and that was something, like you said, I haven't really seen in Call previously. So, like, that was big inspiration into what we decided to do with our Women's International Championship, is like, because we have a men's version and now we have a women's version, and we have an idea of like it being on the same playing field because they're both like mid-card titles, so they're treated like the same playing field and stuff,
the same prestige,
like it's the same championship, it's just one's white and one's got the black strap and everything, and it's meant to be like the same playing field and everything. Yeah,
that was one thing I was real happy that we did. That was one of the reasons we kind of made Divinity 2 nights as well. And also that way we did it 2 nights for that reason, and also so we could get as many matches on each night as possible to give everybody as many as we could, like their like spot on that card and on that show.
Do you think that's the best way to do like a big event, like your biggest event is probably 2 nights?
I think so, because if you're wanting to stand out at the end of the day and be like, that's your WrestleMania, I feel like it's kind of what you have to do now with the way they're doing it. You know what I mean? Like, and they made it when they did the 2-night thing. I know a lot of people were like kind of against it, but to me, that made it feel like it was like the Super Bowl of wrestling. Like, this was the end all be all. It's 2 separate nights, and that way you can fit as many people and as many matches and stories on both nights as you can. You obviously don't want to overbook it, but I think we did a pretty good job of keeping it like not too long for each one and not too crazy, but just like the perfect amount. I think each night ended up being like around 3 hours, I think. So I was pretty happy with how that came out. I was like, yeah, that's a Mania show, 2 nights. You give the 2 separate main events. They each get their own moment. And then you got like pretty much 2 shows out of it. So.
And that's like, y'all's opening for Divinity was so sick with like the storybook.
Oh yeah. I thought it was like pretty cool and well put together. I really enjoyed Kang's lines on it. That dude is one of the hardest working and like driven people in our community for sure. He actually like is from South Korea, and he speaks English, he speaks Korean, he speaks Japanese. I'm trying to remember what else. He knows like 2 more languages too. Dude's insanely smart. Like, and he's a ball to work with. He's dependable, and he puts out like, he's the best ring announcer I've heard in Call. I think he's amazing. Like, I love having him on our big shows and stuff too. And
actually, I got a one final question that wasn't in the original list I'll send you, so just you don't got a good answer for it. It's fine. But with us being like lower on the like subs and all that stuff, we get like other call shows around us reaching out to like do like crossover and stuff like that. When y'all were lower, did y'all ever get stuff like that?
No, not really, but I don't know. I've never really done like a crossover show because it's usually harder to do. And I don't think it would be anything we would really do because at that point, then you gotta like, now you got two teams trying to figure something out, work together. And then you're trying to like mix and stuff. I guess it's much more harder than just being like, okay, here's a wrestler from this show coming to this show type thing.
That's exactly what, like, I've always been okay with, say, somebody from another show has an idea that they want to portray on our show. I'm fine with like them coming over, then we do that.
Yeah. And that way, that's like a lot easier too, because it's like, okay, it's just one person coming in to do like maybe this or that, and then we'll see what happens after that. That's easier. But doing like a full on like 2-show like event thing, that'd be to me, I think that would be a headache at the end of the day. Yeah. Then you're trying to get like your team with the other team and then figure all that out. And then now you both have to get together and try to all figure out like, so both shows win, and you both come out, looking good and everything, what's best for everybody. Now you got to work together, figure out who's going to do what and this and that. I don't know. That seems just like a lot.
Nah, because like you said, nobody wants to be buried. So.
Well, yeah. It's nobody's ever going to want to be like, okay, so you come to my show and all you guys lose. Nobody's like, yeah, sign me up. Like nobody's ever going to. That's another thing that would make it hard to do too, is trying to even the thing. I feel like the only way you'd make that work is if you had like an even amount of matches and you split it and you're like, all right, 3 guys from this show win and 3 guys from the other show win. But that'd be like I said, I think it'd be a headache at the end of the day. I would not want to sign up for that. But I'm all game for like other people from other places being on other shows and stuff. That's always fun. I mean, I think I want to say Creed is in God, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Starbound. Damian Daniels and Austin Zero, they're part of the Performance Center right now, and they're like in a part of running that show, and so I know they've gotten a couple people to go over there and do some stuff. And then I know obviously we have like Garo and some other people that have like been in Madness. And I'm sure there's some other people that have been on other shows too. I just don't know because it ain't popped up in my recommended or nobody's told me or, et cetera, et cetera.
We're kind of doing like a mini storyline right now that kind of started because of some guys knowing each other from SWW and coming over. And we even mentioned that on commentary. Like,
oh, that's cool.
So like one of the guys in the Performance Center, Andre Simmons, he was our like major world champion for a while. So we were doing a storyline where where the dude he was facing, like he had somebody attack him. So we brought in Silver, who he knew from SWW.
Yeah.
And now Silver's on the roster and he attacked, and now Andre and Silver and Cruz, they're all a team now, and they're all in SWW, and we're doing like a.
That's pretty cool. Then yeah, see, that's a neat way to kind of like integrate other people and stuff.
And we're doing like this story because they're on like the big show, they're on like a major show like SWW. They're the upper echelon, so their team name is Upper Echelon.
Who is it? Is Andre, Orlando, and who? Andre
Simmons, Orlando Silver, and Leon Cruz.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're all 3 good guys then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like. I talked to Leon pretty decently. He's a very driven dude who's like ready to roll. And I mean Orlando and Andre are too. They've done a good job on Rush so far. I know we just added like titles to Rush. So now we just have started to kind of get into that like aspect of it really being like NXT now.
We got so lucky. We got Andre like early on. I think we even got Andre. Maybe I'm wrong for this. He can correct me in the Discord later on. But I think we might have even got Andre before he entered like Rush or anything. And
oh wow.
He is one of the best call promos I've seen dude like is really good.
Yeah, dude, he's a great talker. He's a really good talker.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of the early things we noticed early on. Is
Dude,
like this fucking dude can talk. Like he's
Like,
got a good voice. He sounds like believable in what he's saying. It fits the look of the character. I'm like, you can't really ask for much more than that. That's why we had him. That's why we had him come up and do that little part with Sunshine before Divinity.
Because that was on the shore.
We were like, we were like, we need somebody to come up, like out of Trey's camp, to like step up to Sunshine, like, you know, talking shit about him and his camp. And I was like, Andre, like, he could talk perfectly. Like, it'd be like a great, like, you know, moment for him to come up and just like talk shit to Sunshine and like, you know, have a little match with him. So I definitely want to do more of that kind of stuff too. That's stuff we want to keep doing, is like being like, okay, here's some Rush guys like making a main roster appearance. And it's a good way for us to like gauge the audience and like kind of gauge the room on what people think about these guys too. Be like, okay.
Because like that's one thing I'll always say is the more and more somebody is involved with their character, like willing to do promos and stuff, like not saying that like if you're not willing to do that stuff, you're not going to get like your character like put in these spots. But it, in my mind, the way my mind works is if like I can think about more stuff, like if I can do a promo and not give you a match, if I can just give you a promo and that's good for that show, and then next show you can have a match, that gets you at least on the show.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's a lot, like, even and when people sign up on the Patreon to like be a part of the PC, and the little form, it is I one of my main questions I ask is, can you voice your character? Can you cut a promo? And thankfully, most people say, yeah, I can. And then we try to work with people. I mean, some people just come naturally. Like Andre, he's natural. We don't got to tell him like how to cut a promo or how to talk. He knows, like, you know what I mean? There's some people that come in that just, they got it. They understand it. They're good. And then there's some people you kind of got to like coach a little bit or give them some pointers and kind of be like, okay, let's dial it back, or let's like approach it differently, you know?
Yeah. Like that's like always the goals. And that's kind of another thing of like why I felt so safe to reach out, is because I've been like, we've had guys like crossover like those guys. So I was like, if they think our content's good enough that they want to be a part of it, I feel like if I reach out and he's like, and Shannon's like, who the hell is this person reaching out for me? Let me see what he does. Oh, well, his content ain't that bad. Let me respond to this, because I don't like know what goes through people's mind. So. Well,
yeah. No, I'm always down to try to collab, or like, as long as the thing is right, I'm trying to collab or work with other people, you know. I like doing stuff like this too. This is, you know, I always find a lot of fun in doing this kind of stuff, or letting, you know, pulling the curtain back a little bit and letting people like in on, like, you know, what some of the backstage stuff or some of the behind the scenes things. I think it's pretty fun.
I've thought about, because like we were talking about Murph earlier, Murph and Mathwiz back in the day used to do like a behind the universe and Master of the Universe and stuff, where they would go in depth about like commentary, booking, and like behind the scenes stuff. And I've thought about doing something like that for my show before, of like why I made this certain decision, or maybe like say we had a big event, maybe doing like a behind the scenes talking about each match and why I went with the decision I went with for like the booking and stuff.
Yeah, like people always like to see behind the scenes stuff and get more of an insight on things.
But yeah, I'd say, guys, that this first episode of Creator Insight went well. We're going to reach out to some more people within the call community that y'all are, of course, going to know. Might even reach out to some people within SWW. I know Shannon said that he knows other people that'd be willing to do.
Yeah, I think I know a handful of guys who would definitely be down to sit and chat about stuff for a bit. And I'm always down to come back on too. If the people want to see it, I'm down. So
next time, possibly, I can make a post in the Discord of some questions that people would want to ask you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Make sure to put your stuff in there too. I mean, we got that we got that self-promote thing in our Discord for a reason. Like I encourage people to use it. And like I said, whenever you release, I don't know when you're planning on releasing this, but whenever you do, let me know. And then I'll put it up too, to like, advertise it to people in the general, like, hey, check it out and stuff.
I don't know. Like I said, I'll let you know in the end how that goes. But yeah.
All right.
Guys, if y'all enjoyed this episode of Creator Insight, hit the like button, subscribe, all that jazz. Shannon, y'all know where to check him out. His link is going to be in the description of this video. I'm going to put it in there and everything for him. But everybody already knows he's got so...
Well, I appreciate that, but if I could get, like, if there's one person watching this that's never seen SWW before that comes and watches it, I've done my job, and I'm always trying to get other people to check out what we're doing and become a part of the community.
I recommend, if anybody's watching UKW that hasn't seen it, go watch their stuff. Like, everything that we do, they do on a multitude scale. And because of that, like you said, that the time between videos is a little bit longer, but it's well worth the wait. It's some of the best content I've ever seen within like the community, within like the call community. Some really good stuff. So, like I said, y'all like it? Go check out Shannon and the stuff they're doing, and we'll see you with the next episode of Creator Insight. I don't know when it's gonna be. We're gonna probably shoot to at least do one every week or two, but I'll get that all out with y'all, and we're done.